First off, I kind of want to start off by saying that this is kind of a difficult video to make. It's a little bit different from, what I'm used to, sitting down in front of a computer, laughing at whatever's going on. So this is like the first time I've kind of sat down and just, talked through a video off the top of my head. So this is kind of a little new to me. So let's see how this goes. So I really want to break this video up into like three-ish major parts, and those of them being kind of the struggles I've had as a as a smaller YouTuber, things I wish I would have known going into YouTube, and then the last one being more of just like how to mentally grow and like adapt to the environment. I don't know, the last one's a weird subject. I'll talk about it when I get to that. So this video is basically just my thought process on being a small YouTuber. That's pretty much it. So the first thing I want to talk about specifically is the struggles I've kind of had as a small YouTuber. And I wouldn't necessarily call them struggles as much as I'd like to call them hurdles, because they're simple things that, block your, creative process and all that stuff. So I'd say the first struggle that I kind of feel like I deal with the most is getting the urge to put a video out there. Because as a small YouTuber, sure, I enjoy like making videos and all that, but sometimes it's hard to, come up with a video idea or give yourself the push to get recording when you're not ever sure if the support's always going to be there for you. Much like anyone that creates content, it's nice to see it, it's nice to see other people enjoy it. And that's kind of one of the things as a smaller YouTuber, when you're making a video, you're like, you don't know if your audience is going to be enjoying it. You don't know if anyone's even going to show up for it. It's just like, it's an interesting thing. And it's kind of, sometimes it's easy. It makes it to where you can just feel like, oh, I can put anything out there and I'll just figure out if it works. But other times you're like, oh, I have a great idea and I don't know how my community is going to react to it or if they're going to react at all. I'd say it's more of a struggle that kind of prevents you from knowing what exactly the right path is. Not saying there is a right path. Another struggle I've had, and something I've kind of like had to teach myself going into YouTube, is that you're never going to have at the beginning a lot of people that you can sort of rely on. And what I mean by that is I like to make a lot of videos where I use my community, or I try to get some extra people involved in stuff. And I feel like those videos are a lot more entertaining because you get to see, just a lot of people. That can be extremely hard when you only have like 5 or 6 people you can pick from, and you're not sure if they're even going to show up when you need them to. So I've kind of just learned more or less to not really be dependent on people, and kind of like when you're just growing to stay sort of, that sounds a little weird, but just I just stick with stuff you can rely on, because you don't want to get your hopes up and then not everyone shows up that you need to. That's just what it is. Obviously, the last struggle, this is something I feel like everyone deals with, and that's kind of knowing that is what makes it so much easier to deal with. And that's just simply talking to the camera. It's just, everyone's uncomfortable with it. I feel like if you put yourself in someone else's shoes and just think of yourself as talking to someone who's just as scared to talk publicly, it's not a solution that'll work for everyone, but it's kind of what works for me. Talking to the camera is not really something I'm even comfortable with now, but I don't know. You guys can be the judge of that. I just feel like being aware that the camera's there, I just feel like the camera can make you act like someone you're not, and you can come out sort of, disingenuous. And I feel like that's a thing a lot of smaller YouTubers struggle with. Not necessarily that they're being disingenuous and they're just being a little too outgoing because they feel like they need to act in front of the camera. I just feel like there's a lot of people out there that get nervous in front of the camera and sort of come off as a character that they don't necessarily mean to come off as. And I've even suffered with this too. It's hard. It's a hard thing to deal with, and I feel like I'm improving a little bit at it. It's getting better, but I feel like anyone's nervous in front of a camera. I keep reminding myself that, and it helps me a lot with, just straight up talking to the camera. Okay, second part. I think the most important thing to know going into YouTube is that you don't need to go out and try to network with every other small YouTuber just because you feel like you have to in order to grow your community. It's not necessarily true, and I tried doing this, and I feel like with me doing this, I wound up just putting myself in a lot of awkward situations with a bunch of just people I don't know trying to make content without being familiar with the person at all. And I feel like it can come off as like you're mostly uncomfortable. And another thing you got to remember is that most of the time people are going to act in the best interest of themselves and not you. And that's why you kind of have to, you know, choose the people you hang out with wisely around YouTube, because everyone wants to grow on YouTube. That's just how it is. I feel like you need to just focus in on who cares for, like, you know, growing their own channel but not impeding or trying to steal from you at the same time, and just finding out who's, like I said earlier, genuine versus disingenuine. It's just something to be aware of. Just when you're trying to make friends, don't force it because you feel like you need friends. Actually spend the time to, like, you know, see if it's a person that, you know, relates to you, a person that has similar interests, all those things. Okay, another thing I kind of wish I knew going in is that you don't need all this fancy equipment and just all that hanging in your background. I know it may seem cool and interesting to most people, but the thing people really care about is what's right there in front of the camera. I know it sounds tacky, but it's true. People care about someone that takes passion in what they do. All of it kind of just comes down to the being genuine and being true to yourself part, which sounds really tacky, but it is what it is. But having all this crazy stuff in the background, sure, it can show off who you are and what your interests are, but don't just put stuff in your background or just fill your room with a bunch of stuff just because you feel like, oh, my viewers are gonna love it, it's gonna be so cool. Most of the time they don't really pay attention to that. Most people won't, but it's always nice to have some stuff in your background that sort of characterizes, you know, who you are. But I feel like I spent too much effort in the past, like trying to make sure my PC was in the background, trying to show off my cool lights. And it's like, why? If you want to see my PC, you can look it up online. It's there, it's out there. You can see the build, and that's for people who are interested in PCs. But oftentimes I would be struggling to put my PC in the background, and then I'd have a bunch of cords, and then it would be awkward, and I'd be like sacrificing the angle of my camera, or I'd be making myself, you know, look like this just to get the PC in the shot, you know? People watch YouTube and people watch Twitch and stuff like this to connect with a person rather than to connect with an inanimate object in your background. I just feel like that's something you need to know. And another thing I wish I knew going in is this thing right here and that thing behind me, not the camera, but the light. A microphone and a light are probably the most important thing you can have when making content. As long as you have something that looks semi-decent as a camera. I spent, you know, $600 on this camera just, you know, make my videos look a lot clearer, and I think it's well worth it. I don't regret any of it. But as far as microphone and camera, or microphone and lights, those are the most important parts. I feel like they're the things that draw in people the most. It's having good audio quality and good visual quality, because a good light can make any camera look great, and it's just that simple. So I'd say those are the things you really need to focus on as far as money wise. I'm not really going to get into anything else money wise or like purchase wise, but lights and microphone, very important. Make sure you're getting something worth your money on those. Don't just go cheap on those. Finally, this last topic I was talking about that I didn't know how to describe, and it's just, you got to know your strengths and you have to know your weaknesses. All I can really do is just give my own personal experience. And that being said, knowing your weaknesses can really help you understand yourself and grow as far as like making content on YouTube. I feel like one of my weaknesses, for example, is the fact that I can't really decide on what type of content I want to create. I really just want to make anything. And it's hard to grow when you make just variety content off the bat. And I've kind of struggled with that idea, and I'm sticking to it now because I feel like it's what makes me the happiest, and it's what makes me enjoy making videos the most. That weakness kind of turned into a strength of mine, and just knowing that I can turn on the camera and kind of enjoy what I'm doing is just a lot healthier, and I feel like it makes it a lot easier for me to make content. Like, going in when I was making videos, I was trying out a bunch of different stuff because it's what I wanted to do, and I was always so worried, like, man, if I keep making different content and just random stuff, no one's going to want to watch. It's not going to be consistent. The timing's going to be crazy. But I realized that doesn't matter. I think what matters most is just having fun and being confident and being genuine. That's really it. It's hard to do, and I'm definitely still struggling with it now, but I guess this kind of ties into the first topic I already talked about. All right, let me explain a little more. Knowing your strengths and weaknesses can help you a bunch, and I know it sounds tacky like anything else, but I feel like a good example of this is when you get harsh, critical, negative comments, which if you look at this video ever right here, you'll understand that I've experienced that. You kind of have to be able to filter between what's toxic and what's just actual criticism. And I've just learned to ignore the toxic comments and just don't even bat an eye to them. There's going to be toxic people no matter what. But whenever I get like a truly critical comment, I feel like they make me happy in a way. And I don't know if that's weird or not, but I specifically remember this comment I got one time on one of my videos. And let me find it real quick. And this was on the video I mentioned earlier. So this person commented on my video and said, "Just try to appear more excited. I think this video could have gone viral and it could have been your shot. I came here from searching about Logan's bird and you are not doing much in the video. Appear excited. Do something. Sometimes you have to fake it." I agree with this. I responded to the guy because he appeared to actually care. This whole video had so much toxicity and so much just negative stuff. It was kind of discouraging. When I got this guy's comment, I was like, you know what? This guy's right. Really, all this video was missing, I feel like, was just me coming off more genuine. I feel like I was being satire, but faking it at the same time, just for the sake of, you know, I don't know, thinking it was funny. And I feel like if I was just, you know, more comfortable and more genuine, I feel like I could have avoided a lot of the toxicity from it. It's something I learned, something I grew with. I guess we've addressed a lot of weaknesses, but you also have to know your strengths. And I think this might be the most powerful thing. You have to know what you're good at so that you can know how to push out, you know, good content. It's just that simple, you know. And I'm not saying good as in like skill wise or anything like that. I'm saying know what you're comfortable with, know what you're, you know what you stand for. Put yourself in the shoes of one of your friends trying to describe you to someone else. What specifically would you say? And you know, what would come out? And knowing the qualities, like the major qualities you have as a person can really help you kind of develop your YouTube personality and make sure you kind of carry that, you know, carry over your strong qualities into your videos. This one's more of just like a mindset rather than something that's like a solid fact that you have to like just, oh, it's do it this way and that's that. You just got to be aware of what you're good at and stick with being honest with yourself. Like if you feel like you're a very outgoing person and you make this awesome video, you're laughing and having so much fun, and someone says, "Oh, this is so fake. Why are you acting so excited? It's so cringy." Be honest with yourself. If you were faking excitement and it was false and it was totally a lie and you were just trying to make some YouTube personality, agree with him and try to adapt from that. But if you feel like you were genuinely having a good time in the video, being fun, then you got to recognize that as toxicity. You have to know your strengths in a way. You know, if you can stay true to yourself, you can, I think you can succeed on this platform, and it's just a matter of time when it will happen. I guess that's it. This was kind of a deep video. I don't really make stuff like this, but I kind of want to make it every once in a while now. It's just interesting to me to talk about, you know, what's kind of going on in people's heads. Because, you know, when you look up, you know, how to grow on YouTube, small YouTube tips and all that, you always get the advice from a bigger YouTuber, someone that's already gone through it. But I feel like it's hard to come across, you know, videos where it's someone that's in the small YouTuber atmosphere already, and to like pick their brain of, you know, what's kind of going on in their head at the time. That's kind of why I wanted to make this video, so that other small YouTubers like me could kind of understand, you know, where my mindset is as a smaller YouTuber, and just see if I'm thinking in a way that's, you know, like similar to y'all. I wanted to help y'all understand that you're not alone in some of these things you've been dealing with as far as like learning how to grow on YouTube and stuff like that. The key takeaways from this are just stay true to yourself, know what you're good at and what you're not good at, and be open for change. It's pretty easy to ignore all negative comments, but you got to know when people are trying to help sometimes, and you have to take it to heart and try to improve. That's really all I got. I hope this video didn't come out just like sound like me whining or anything, but you know, these are my opinions on being a small YouTuber, and I don't know, I hope I can learn from, I hope if I ever get big, I can look back at this video and be like, wow, I was a baby. I don't know. This topic's very complicated. I think about it every day. That's really all I got. I will see you guys in the next video. Oh, my viewers are gonna love it if I wanna go. Oh, my viewers are gonna love it if I wanna go. Oh, my viewers are gonna love it if I wanna go. Oh, my viewers are gonna